Hello, welcome back to the Dwarfs Abridged in Warhammer 2. Last time we were taking out some lizard men and just finishing off our business with them. Then we turned our attention to the Tomb Kings. They were scary looking at first, but it turns out they die just like everybody else. So we defeated some guys off to our east. Now we're off to our west, killing our old allies, and we're currently attacking their capital. They've got a hefty force to defend it. We're immediately being spammed with some magic by the looks of things. Luckily, it doesn't do too much, it mostly missed, it appears. Our cannons are now going to become very useful to us in this battle because we can use them to take out those towers, which in the long run will massively reduce the amount of damage we take on the way in. Also, the towers are currently shooting at our heroes, and they'll mostly miss, so that's not doing too much damage. Aldor's sniping some guys off the wall. And we're advancing with rams and towers and some gunners as well to shoot at the walls. These two towers over here on the south end of the map, well, I had high hopes for some sort of distractionary attack far away from my main attack. The problem was, they're actually getting taken out by the towers. I thought siege towers wouldn't be destroyed in a straight up one-on-one push towards enemy towers, because I figured that's the point of the siege towers. Well, not necessarily. They do get destroyed, which kills most of the infantry inside. Would it have been better to just run at them without the towers being there? Would have been faster. You would have taken a few hits from the towers, but I feel like there would be less damage overall. Maybe the towers aren't that useful. Anyway, our main attack is getting started. We've blown up a few towers here, so we're going to have more leeway to set the gunners up in front of the enemy walls and clear some of the stuff off before we go up there. So here you can see I've got some sentries waiting below this wall, but before we climb, we can snipe away at the skeletons here and just take out a few of them to make the climb easier for later. I ended up not doing my distractionary attack after losing that first tower. I think the second tower was on like 97% health or something, so I dropped it just before it blew up to save the other unit, and then just ran off. The enemy have also abandoned this area at the same time. Wouldn't be such a bad idea to sneak back in and get the distraction going again, but whatever I was thinking, we're not going to be attacking there, so we'll focus on this main front. Our tower here made it to the wall, so we've got troops up here. They just got hit by some magic by the looks of things. Somebody back there in the background throwing stuff at us. Now the real business though, we need to try and use our admittedly not that good melee units to take the walls in melee. This is going to be a weakness of our army. We've got no specialized wall assaulting force. We're all gun units, so the less gunny gun units will have to go up there and try to win the melees. Although there is another option, which is highlighted here. We've mostly cleared out the wall where our Thane's moving up with guns already, so we're going to freely capture this little bit by just overwhelming what's left. There was another distraction plan we could try. I could put my Thunderers on the other side of the wall. This is pretty useful because it doesn't matter if they die since they disappear at the end anyway. And well, perfect, because they are going to die. This distraction plan didn't work at all. Well, I suppose it did distract this anti-infantry monster unit that's going to kill them, but because those guys can't go up onto the wall right now, they weren't really a threat, so we've just dumped our infantry. Not very useful. It would have been better to put them outside the town and have them climb up onto the wall, I think. The guys we have outside the town right now are wasting their ammo, and this is becoming a problem. They're shooting at like the 3 or 4 skeletons still alive up there. They're going to mostly miss or hit our own troops, and we could really use that ammo later, so it's a shame to be going in with so much already used up. This attack at the north end of the wall, well, it's going better than expected. We're being consistently mauled by things, but we're surviving for a while thanks to our tankiness. We're just not really killing them back. The main work will be done over here. Skeleton archers in melee, well, surely we can beat them. And here the enemy have to waste their special ability to summon the Ushbati things because they can only summon them off the wall, and since we're not off the wall, they can't do anything with them, so they're just going to walk around down there. Soon everything climbs up and is on the wall, and now we get to the critical moment in any siege assault, the bit where you just sit on the wall and exploit the AI. I remember doing this a lot in my Dark Elves campaign. As long as you sit up here and just keep using ranged units, the enemy won't respond very well. They can bring their things up onto the wall and put you into melee, but they tend not to. Here we have a bit of an issue because some pathfinding takes my scouts down off the wall while crossing a triangular piece, and they get mauled by these horrors for a bit, but they are gradually teleporting back up the other side and will get out of that melee. We've lost pretty much 2 units worth of stuff over there with that fight with the bats, but it's doing an okay job of keeping the heat off our main push, where things are starting to work. We're killing those archers. They've got a hero in here, but we've got our Thane in there as well to counter him. So we're going to push them back, and as the enemy begin to crumble and diminish, we'll clear out that wall and capture it. Then it really is just the shooting, and this is where our lack of ammunition will come into play. We can shoot some of them, but we don't have quite enough ammo to clear out everything. I had to take the units that still did have bits of ammo and prioritize using just them. I think the engineer as well has a special ability that lets you restore some ammo on a couple of units. So I ended up micromanaging a few remaining gunners and drawing over the enemy unit by unit to just shoot them near the wall. And this is pretty much an exploit because they won't really know what to do. They won't just go up onto the wall and run along it to get your gunners into melee. Instead, they run over, get shot, and that's all fine. Well, I say get shot, most of our guys aren't shooting at this stage, as you can see. Our engineer still has some ammo, and he has a powerful long-range attack. That'll do something over time. We've effectively won the battle at this point, not only because the enemy aren't doing a very good job of fighting us, but because they're going to go on to disintegrating mode. That will get rid of what remains of their infantry. They still have a few powerful units around, but I think they were all monstrous type units that won't be able to come up onto the wall. So we're kind of safe now after that initial chaos. We just need to clean this out. Here are the remaining units. They're just sitting on the capture point. I suppose there's nothing else they can do, so their AI is just going to have them sit there. We actually can win without doing anything in a truly Devonish strategy. I could just sit here and they'll eventually die. Because they're on crumbling mode, they're taking extremely slow damage over time. The only question would be, will the time limit on the battle run out before the enemies actually die? Because it's very ineffective, this, and I think it's more ineffective in the SFO mod than it usually is. Well, whatever the case, I decided to go and fight them after a while anyway. We don't need to do too much in this fight because by engaging them a bit, they'll lose the last bit of their morale and start disintegrating. Plus, we have a couple of legionary units with their not especially effective ranged attack, but it's going to do enough to finish the enemy off with their health constantly draining. And down they go all at once. That was easy. Now we have to take on my favourite unit in the Warhammer universe, the snake with a skull for a head. Pretty good. Currently, the helicopter is dealing with them, but not very well. It's not going to be ideal in that situation. We also suffer here from melee knockdown, another reason melee units aren't too good in this game. Stuff will just knock them over, and they won't be able to apply damage, something which is not the case for ranged units, where the entire unit is constantly applying damage all at once. It doesn't matter in this case, of course, because they are disintegrating, so they just disappear after like a minute. The enemy commander also disappears, bringing an end to this battle. We did lose 2 whole units with that dangerous siege assault, so that's a shame. Those are the losses that matter, because we actually have to buy them back. All the other units are essentially fine, and they will be fine next turn. So that's that. The enemy's capital is down. We took out their faction leader and virtually all of their troops as well. Couple more places for us to take at our leisure now. Here we are then, leisurely teleporting our way onto the Sorcerer's Islands. They thought they were safe, but no, these dwarven tunnels go absolutely everywhere, including under the sea. Very useful. So we suddenly appear right next to the next settlement, and they decide they want to die. They send everything at us, and that's the balance bar. So some poor assessment from the AI. Someone mentioned back on the first part that this could be because in mods, the game's reasoning for what battles to do ignores modded units, so it looks like my army doesn't have anything in it. It doesn't look at the balance bar, curiously enough, which seems like the easier way to program it. Well, anyway, they died, and we're immediately moving on to the next settlement, where they also start to die quite quickly, and just there, I lightning striked the legendary mummy who saved us a couple of times. I didn't even realize at the time because I wasn't reading their names, but that guy has officially died. Well, I guess he hasn't, because it's the Tomb Kings. He's under the ground for a bit. He'll be back later for more mischief, no doubt. Now here's some interesting balance bar shenanigans again. As I move in to attack this castle, by lightning striking, it makes the balance bar way better, but only removes one enemy, one unit. So this suggests that the balance bar is heavily influenced by heroes, by lords. So this might be helping me out, since I have 3 heroes in my army, or 2 heroes and a lord to be technical. Anyway, I was so outraged by this balance bar shenanigans, I thought, no, I'm not going to auto-resolve this time. I'm going to set up for a siege and make it slightly harder for myself. Well, the enemy do insist, because they actually sally and it's roughly the same balance bar. Even then I thought, well, I'm not going to give this one to myself for free, because I'm outraged. I want to generate some content for my video series, so I ended up doing this one manually. There was one other reason to do this manually. I just got a new Regiment of Renown that was particularly interesting, and we'll see it in use in this battle. The fight starts with the enemy's commander who initiated the battle killing himself by running solo into our lines, and down he goes. Well, that was easy enough. The balance bar's now evened out for us as the enemy start moving over. Someone explained it's roughly because on the campaign map it assumes your missile units will do all of their damage and kind of pre-does it, thus making the balance bar what it would be after you've shot the enemy, so it's particularly effective for ranged based armies. Whereas in battle, it doesn't assume you've already shot them because you have to shoot them as part of the battle. Overall, it's just weird stuff that's a problem from the base game that's made much worse in this mod because we're using ranged units, and ranged units are the bit where it's programmed weirdly the most. There was our special unit, by the way, although I can't use it right now because they got mauled by some bats. In the meantime, well, we're going to do the thing that I'm probably going to do in every battle until it doesn't work or we come up with a better plan, a checkerboard. We actually don't have that many legionary units in this army anymore because I keep putting in other things. So the gaps between the checks in the checkerboard are particularly large, the checkers I should say. Here is my special unit in action, the Stone Melter Alchemists. They're shooting this green goop, it's a bit hard to see, but essentially it's killing absolutely everything. It's like an anti-armor flamethrower that has a large area of effect, and it has so much base damage that it works against things without armor as well just fine, and just annihilates everything. So you can cut down entire units thanks to its area of effect damage real fast. Not that we wouldn't be doing that anyway, with the gunners doing the usual thing and the legionaries not dying fast enough for this to not work. There are the stone melters at work again, just annihilating the enemy from the flanks, and at this stage in the battle everything's gone wrong for the enemy. That balance bar is going to swing in our favour as they begin to go into diminishing mode and such. I still don't know what that green particle effect coming off them is. I presume they're being buffed in some way by some Tomb King magic. Well, it's not helping them very much. They have done the classic spawn of a monster unit on top of our artillery. Always a good idea. They're certainly going to do some damage, but I can turn around a few units to deal with them. They're not going to last too long. Another enemy lord dies. I think that guy died running at the Stone Melter Alchemists. They probably just turned around and melted him down. They are officially overpowered. It's pretty useful. You might note, by the way, there's no music in this battle for some reason. That happens from time to time. I think it might be something to do with loading a replay in an unusual fashion, like loading it while you're watching another replay, which you can do. Well, a shame. But check that out, the Stone Melters, with only 20 men in their unit, killed about 500 enemies, and they weren't even firing the whole time thanks to bats attacking them. So that's a much better unit than our scouts, clearly, and the scouts are also doing pretty well on the side. So the enemy were entirely annihilated. Once again, the initial balance bar that I was outraged at was correct. We could have skipped that, but sometimes it's nice to see the enemy dying just for fun, I suppose. Next, I would like to go and rebuild those old Bretonnian territories and have the coast of Araby be under our control. But while we've been doing our campaign in the southwest, the powerful Tomb Kings have started taking over. They've already colonized 2 of the places, and they're coming for the final one right in front of us, just as I was coming to colonize it. Inconvenient. I was checking out their units here. This real Tomb King faction has plenty of special units and far more troops than the guys we just killed. That was only the starters. We're going to have to deal with these guys, our new neighbors, and we're going to deal with them right now because in the next turn they did indeed colonize that coffer place, making it the perfect time to start the war. Not because we're in any particularly good position elsewhere in our empire, where we're all completely exposed and they could invade anywhere they like, but right here specifically, it's a chance to kill this army for free because the colonization will have dramatically lowered their strength. Also, we get the colony for free. They would have had to pay money to make it appear. Now it's ours for free. Nice. Part of the reason I was so confident just starting this war without really being in position at all was that this stack is looking pretty invincible so far. I just thought with this one stack we can probably do anything. I'm willing to just wade off into however many stacks they have and see what happens. Now we're going to have to deal with the consequences of my declaration of war. Turns out these guys did have troops available to attack immediately, so one stack's already in our territory in the next turn. And it's coming up towards the Black Tower of Arkan, which annoyingly is close to being upgraded with a bigger garrison, but it's not quite there. So if I had waited like 2 turns before starting this war, we would be in a better position. We've also got this other small army that I'm bringing over. Need to start building it up, but that will take a while. By the next turn, things have gotten a bit worse. Another stack has appeared. One thing I thought was that the stack I killed over in the west might have been like their main force with all of their special units. But no, these other armies we see also have plenty of special units and high-level commanders, all that stuff as well. These guys are the number 2 faction, so they probably have loads of stuff. Well, we need to do something, and I'm going to redirect my main force. I was going to try and cheekily take all of the coast of Araby before getting involved with the defences. We're going to have to leave the coast of Araby and run down to probably get involved as soon as possible. You might have also spotted there were 2 more other Tomb King armies hanging around that aren't at war with us, those greenish ones. Well, I don't know what they're doing, or what the main Tomb Kings are doing, the Khemri faction, because they start this battle. Not only are the green guys not in the war, so their presence is irrelevant, but they don't even bring in the second army that's standing right next to this battle. They're so confident they can attack without it, I suppose. The AI doesn't check that first, it checks whether the balance bar is good for the attack initially, or it doesn't check the balance bar as mentioned earlier. It's decided that this is fine. Well, I suppose it looks fine for them. However, the balance bar doesn't really take into account the power of towers. It does a little bit, I think, but towers are really powerful in this game, so all we need to do now is make sure the towers can shoot as much stuff as possible, including these enemy siege towers, which look very nice. A shame to fire at those things. All we have to do is throw stuff outside the town to make the battle mostly take place below the towers, the usual strat. Unfortunately, this tower isn't even shooting, so here's a downside to us having small unit sizes. It's hard for us to stand in the boxes that turn the towers on because our units are quite physically small in many ways. So inconvenient, we need more stuff to keep the towers shooting. This could be going better, but broadly speaking, it's okay. We're packing on the damage. I'm trying here to do the move that I always forget doesn't work, that is melee attacking siege towers. Siege towers are just doing their own thing in this game, they will ignore you. So they power on through. Well, over here we actually took out one of their siege towers. The other one gets to the wall, and now we just have to deal with them being up here. These scouts will eventually get killed, but by leaving them on guard mode, they should ignore the fact they're being killed and still use up more of their ammo shooting down into these melees, and they'll keep the nearby tower shooting. Our commander is fighting with their commander in that block, and the towers are going to be helping out with that. At the corner here, we're doing quite a lot of damage. The enemy had a bunch of cavs and chariots, and they're getting shot quite a lot as they come in here to engage our sentries. The sentries will be destroyed by this, but that doesn't really matter. It's all about the chances for the gunners to blast away. Because those chariots are technically a ranged unit, I think they're a chariot archer unit, the AI will probably just leave them there to try and snipe at my gunners and get them killed. Looks like this enemy hero isn't up to much, just trundling in front of the towers, getting himself killed. Thank you very much for that. We've taken out a unit over here with a nice delaying action and some tower spam. It's all working out. We're starting to win that part of the fight. And this chariot part, well, there's lots of stuff, but there's going to be less and less stuff because they can't kill us very effectively, and we are still damaging them. Magical flying boat getting involved. I think that is buffing the nearby enemies in some unspecified way, but it's not doing very much damage, at least, which is what I'm concerned with in the short term. Here, more chariots are just marauding about in front of our towers, getting killed. All free damage, free kills, thank you very much. They are forced to spawn their unit of monsters outside our walls, so that's very handy. They can then get shot by the towers themselves. And it's all working pretty well here. This unit of shield wall, a tanky infantry unit, is making sure the enemy can't get to the gate, and the towers are doing their work. There's another enemy hero. just kind of chilling, and then he dies. I think there he might have died from crumbling because he had no health and didn't appear to be getting hit by anything. Over at the other attack point, we have lost the walls and the towers, unfortunately. This means the towers will be on the enemy side, although that doesn't stop them from helping me, because all the towers can do is shoot at my Thane, who is short and is surrounded by enemies who are going to tank the area of effect damage from the quote-unquote enemy towers. I think it's still going okay for us there. We're clearing things up on the other side of the field. An enemy hero is running away half dead. Here's the magical boat again. It comes in to engage with our axe troops and dies instantly. That will stop them doing whatever buff action's going on. And really, this area is pretty much cleared up. This enemy hero half runs away, starts coming back, being hit by the towers the whole time. As far as I'm aware, there's no programming in terms of the AI's behavior to recognize the towers being there. They don't try and go down the edge of the map or not spend too long below towers, anything like that. They just pretend they're not there. That helps them die. The enemy's commander is nearly dead. He did rout my commander, but he's now got virtually no health and he is crumbling. So this is a situation where the crumbling can actually take effect. For reasons unknown, my tower is shooting at them. I feel like the enemy still controls that tower since there's some infantry up there. It's firing at that commander anyway. For whatever reason, the treachery levels are quite high. Perhaps doesn't matter because the crumbling appears to kill that commander off pretty soon. With that, this battle's starting to look pretty good. The balance bar's bad, but the enemy have massive morale debuffs. They've taken tons of losses. Their heroes and commanders are down. We've totally won that one part of the battle. They're going to be pretty close to losing their morale. If we can hit them with something else, their regular infantry will start to crumble. What we see is they bring their surviving troops over to start taking the capture point. I can do the same and challenge the capture point. Here I actually shouldn't have advanced. I started firing at this unit and it has my back to me, so that shooting would have been very effective, but I ruined it by making them turn around to fight my infantry. Having the infantry there will at least stop the victory timer from going down. There's a bit of a battle at this gatehouse as enemy archers shoot without line of sight, just wasting their ammo, and the spearmen up top can't best my gunners because they are disintegrating. They're going to lose all of their health no matter how that melee is going. And boom, we'll win and recapture the gatehouse, then the gunners can turn around and deal with the archers. Essentially, the balance bar's still bad, but it's going to very rapidly become good. Their morale is too low. We can just tip them into the crumbling and disintegrating realm, and that will finish them off for us. A hard lesson learned by the AI. They might as well have used that other stack that was standing beside the battle, and this wouldn't have happened. But because the decision-making order is in the wrong order, I suppose, they accidentally forgot to check like I would have done, and here they are, losing this battle to a Pyrrhic victory. And while our losses were great, it's only garrison, so it doesn't matter of course, and many of them are still alive because of the man count health discrepancy thing complained about before. Well, we didn't lose the settlement, that's the point, and their other army, which could now still attack and fight our weakened garrison to take it, well they don't, they try to go around us. Just some absolutely terrible moves from the AI that's allowing us to completely get away with this so far, but they do have plenty more stuff still to deploy against us, as we'll soon see, so join me for the next part.